who we did earlier as the chair, vice chair of the Black is Back Coalition, and the chair of the healthcare working group. Also with this panel is Sister Hjadiyya, who is going to be speaking on homeschooling, and I'll be moderating this discussion. So the panelists can please take a seat at the table. This is an important discussion.
5 seconds.
All right. I'll just open it up real quick while we wait for Sister Leesa. But yeah. Are you want to sit down? No, oh, I'm okay. So again, this panel is entitled Economic Development versus Police Containment, Reducing Food, Clothes, and Shelter through Revolution. So we talked a lot about, not a lot, but we said some things about political economy in terms of the material basis for the U.S. government's relationships with Black people. And we're going to go deeper into those questions with this panel. We wait on Sister Leesa, but it's always important to remember that the U.S. government exists as a parasitic force in the lives of Africans and oppressed people around the world. By parasitic, of course, we mean that they steal resources from everybody, and those resources are funneled into this economy, into the white community in general, and other oppressed nations to lead the struggle to overturn imperialism. And I know some of these terms are unfamiliar, and as we continue to work together, we'll become more familiar with these terms, but they have real live implications in the lives of our people, So we take the question of education extremely seriously because the role of any education system in any human society is essentially twofold. On one side, education serves to reinforce the ideological system. Meaning, for example, if we the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem, the learning about the so-called forefathers of this country, all of this serves to reinforce certain assumptions about this social system and our place in it. So that's one major function of the education system. On the other side, the role of the education system is to train the productive forces within the system so as to be capable to produce wealth for the capitalists, So we go to school, obviously, to learn how to work in factories or whatever the particular mode of production may be. But the bottom line is that that's the only reason why white power would invest in educating Africans and Mexicans, and so they have a capable workforce. And of course, with what some people call globalization.
They don't give us all the information anyway.
What you say?
They don't give us all the information anyway. So that even if we wanted to progress in that whatever it is, we can't. We don't have the information.
Right.
Some of it we make up ourselves.
Good point.
Yeah.
Greg Parker, the housing, and then I told.
Well, it's not Q&A right now, but this is an introduction. So, but the point is that we take the question of education and economic development very seriously, and in our view, they go hand in hand. So, again, we have Sister Leesa Dayvus and Sister Hjadiyya, who are going to present respectively. Sister Leesa.
Again, good afternoon, comrades. As this conversation is going on, and as I read, into the conflict going on in our world, and as I learn about things myself, you realize just how deep and severe and violent, the imposition of this culture has been on us. And when we talk about education, education is about, teaching their ways and all that kind of stuff, but it involves so much more than that, because it's also about the complete obliteration of another culture's way of life, and at least in terms of the way that they did the educational system over here, and in terms of what happened to us the complete obliteration of a whole different way of thinking, a whole different way of analyzing things. And I happen to have learned that very much through the work that I've done in terms of healthcare. And I got involved in this, quite seemingly, incidentally. I mean, I wanted to, my face was breaking out so badly, and I happened to go to a health food store, and somebody recommended I try these different things, and they were natural, and I'm like, wow, this stuff worked. And I noticed that when I did that, then I didn't have to buy sinus medication any longer or anything like that. So I continued to just go to health food stores. I'm like, this is really interesting because we can really heal. And then I was introduced to other absolutely powerful healing modalities, so that when I would see somebody maybe had cancer or whatever, I could work with them. Just certain very easy things to do to pull their systems back. And I have seen that happen. So I have learned that there's no such thing as a point of no return as long as you have a breath of life in your body. And if you're on the minus side 100, the body can absolutely heal. So I mean, I was seeing this stuff. The simplest little things, based more on our ancestral knowledge, what our ancestors from Africa knew about these kind of modalities. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, wow, this is so great. I know when I just let these doctors go and go to visit people, they're going to be so happy when I tell them this. And I would see quite the opposite. Literally, I can't prove this, but I know what I saw in terms of just taking people out. I know what I saw in terms of the medications that they were giving people, and that they would literally say, well, the medication has this side effect, and I know what I would see. And I would see people developing these side effects, and these doctors just giving them the medication, and I was in no position to say, remove the medication from them, and then you'll have a different result. And so I say all of that to say, and then when I would talk with people, when I would be talking with comments, I was like, well, look, let me just tell you right now, I know something right here. I know it sounds crazy, but if you try this kind of water, try this. And then the medication that they're giving you, it says it causes this side effect. So, you got to tell the doctor, talk to the doctor about removing the medication. And many times that was the most difficult thing to get people to understand. And I began to realize, well, I can't come at it like this. I can't come at it like, oh my gosh, look at this, just try this. And I began to learn and to realize about the deep conditioning, deep absolute conditioning of a way that does not work, of a way that goes counter to every bit of logic you could ever have. I mean, literally, when you think about it, if you take something with the side effect that it can kill you, it's not good for you. Yeah, this is the conditioning. And then we were made to believe that our way was ridiculous. They called them witch doctors. They talked about voodoo in Haiti. When you mentioned Haiti, they talked about voodoo. They called that, you don't want to be like that. And as I studied more, I began to learn that some of the most revolutionary people and powerful people were the healers. Yeah. And the role that they played in our revolution, and the role that they played in the Haitian Revolution. One brother, phenomenal, Mackendal. And Mackendal, he had the knowledge he understood the plants. He had that knowledge. And he said, because they had enslaved him, and he was the first one to really talk about the complete overthrow of enslavement about 60 years before the actual Haitian Revolution happened. And he tried to get the bourgeoisie to go along with him, to arm the revolution and all of that, because he had escaped and become a moon. He goes, this is BS, I can't live like this, and I'm not going to. He was from, I forget exactly what part of Africa he was from, but he had been captured and brought to Saint Dominguez, what it was called at that time, now known as Haiti and the Dominican Republic. But he said, no, no, I can't live like this. So we tried to get the bourgeoisie, black people, Africans to fund and to arm them, and they wouldn't do it. So he goes, I know another way. And he used what he knew, his knowledge of the plants, his knowledge of natural poisons and all that kind of stuff. And he said, we'll do it this way. And that is exactly what he began to do. And he began to, find people within the revolution that wanted to do this, and they were wreaking hell upon those enslavers. They were wreaking hell upon them. And they began to do everything they could try to do to capture Malcolm down, who I believe just really understood vibrational energy in the plants and all that kind of stuff, and they were not able to capture him. But I use all of that as an example of power and knowledge, and how it became imperative for them to make us hate ourselves, for them to disempower us, because if you take away our knowledge of who we are, then you can fill it with anything. And that's one of the things that they began to do. And they began to say, you don't want to be associated with Malcolm, you don't want to be associated with this, that's evil, that's, demonic. And I don't know anything in particular about, voodoo to say one about it. But I can certainly see where you could understand that they would not want, your oppressor would not want you to have any association with this. And then I've also learned that on the plantations, the African people who understood the healing natural modalities, they played a very important role because they protected the African people from what we are now confronted with today. And when we talk about the role of the police, today's police comes from the same system, or that today's medical profession is born from the same ruthless system as the police. And African people were used, the medical profession used African people for experimentation, and that still happens today. And so when we have this knowledge about ourselves, when we had people on those plantations who understood the power of herbs and healing, that made the plantation owners less powerful, but it also prevented us from being subjected to a ruthless form of medicine. Absent that knowledge, we have exactly what is going on today with the medical profession. I'm talking as a revolutionary because I just have no faith in it whatsoever. If I would talk with other people who are not so, who have not grown in their thinking the way we have, I would have to present it in another way, because this is all so many of our people know. So the issue of education, the issue of understanding this system, the issue of understanding all the points of attack that they have on us is critical. It's imperative for us to know this because we continue to go to the same systems. We continue to think in the same way, but our answers, and we are going to have exactly what we have. We know this much, we have the worst of every statistic, the worst of everyone, of every statistic, and it is that way by design. I know when I was talking with Brother Diop, and he was also talking about the role of agriculture, and they were talking about the do not bombs people and all of that. That is also very, very important to understand in terms of our enslavement and the conditions that we continue to face today, because the U.S. Department of Agriculture, food is used as a weapon against our people. It is used as a weapon globally and domestically. When you had mentioned Haiti, and these are things I'm just learning about myself. It's just amazing to me because you think you done all this study and research and everything, and you're getting old and you kind of a veteran of the Black liberation struggle, and then you learn other things that you had never heard before. Like I just within the last month or so learned about Black pigs, and I'm talking about the animals. I'm talking about the animals, right? But I didn't even know that there was I thought all pigs were pink. I thought they were all like that. But I learned that in the 1970s, Haiti had Black pigs. And Black pigs were very much a staple of the Haitian environment and also their economy. And so something happened in terms of the swine flu or whatever, there was an epidemic. And so the United States and international forces said to the Haitian people, we want to stop this swine flu that's going on. Therefore, to stop this swine flu and the devastation that it could cause to, the food chain and all of that, you got to destroy these pigs, the black ones. Yeah. And they told him, we will replace you, don't worry, we'll make sure that you have pigs. And so the Haitian people, they ended up destroying their black pigs that were far less expensive to care for. These pigs, they also played a role in their society. They were scavengers, I guess, they would eat certain things, so they helped with their ecosystem. And they destroyed these black pigs. And they replaced with the white ones. And the white ones were far bigger. The white ones, they would not do the things that the black pigs would do. They did not work for their ecosystem or their environment. And so they found that they could not really care for the black pigs the white ones, because they took so much more to do. And they also found that they didn't taste as well. They did not work that well for the Haitian people. And so basically, that was another way in which the Haitian people, their economy was destroyed. That contributed toward it, because the black pigs also meant that people would have value, something that they could barter with if they had them. But they destroyed them all due to the pressure of the United States and the international markets. But they destroyed their economy with that. Another thing that I was also reading something about in terms of the rice crop. Haiti was, they had a certain kind of rice crop that they would grow, and through the politics and everything like that, strong arm politics of the United States and the international markets, they flooded the Haitian market, I think, with the rice that's produced over here. It had, devastating effects on the economy of the Haitian people. You have things that are now going on in terms of the pharmaceutical industries taking out patents on plant life. And so native plants that have been helping people, helping economies like in India and various places, they are now able to take out patents on those plants, making it impossible for the people locally to be able to utilize them. And you have forces like the ICC and the International Bank and all that kind of stuff will put so much pressure on them and will do things that are just, devastating to their economy, devastating to that. When we talk about food and the economy and the politics of food, we've all heard about the black farmers. We all heard about that. And at the turn of the century, or the turn of last century, black farmers had about 14 million acres of land, 14 million acres. But because of the vicious and ruthless policies of the USDA, we now have less than 1 million acres of land. And the black farmers, they have been continuously fighting and struggling with the United States Department of Agriculture, because they would find that they would set up all these subsidies for white farmers. They would set up all these subsidies, and the things that were supposed to be available to farmers, the black farmers were deliberately denied that. Right. A lot of the lynchings and things that would happen to our people were behind the issue of land. A lot of policies and things implemented by banks were done so that were done to make it harder for black people in general to be able to own property or to be able to keep their property, as is what happened with the home foreclosure situation. But the impact that it had on black farmers was just devastating. And that comes back and hurts our people in so many ways, because as we also know that land in this kind of economy is also, wealth building. And to be able to have land and to be able to grow your own farms, that's very important. And there's another lawsuit that I recently learned about that the black farmers are taking out against Monsanto. They're saying that they were deliberately sold seeds, soy seeds, that were inferior, and that they knew that would not produce the kind of crops, would not produce, the kind of yield that it was supposed to produce. And so they invested in all of this and bought these seeds and stuff like that. And they were deliberately targeted, and their crops are not growing the way that they should be. And I just read something about this earlier today. They said one of the U.S. Circuits of Hill or something said by March 15th, they've got to mediate, or they've got to come to some kind of a settlement. So March 15th is going to be an important date to watch. But these are just various ways in which, you know, the medical profession, the USDA, the food, you know, industry really works against our community, really is about a system that are put in place designed to work against us. Sure. And you know, as you were saying earlier, Brother Dia, the essentials of any society, you gotta be able to eat. If you can't eat, you ain't gonna even be thinking about revolution. You can't eat. Right. Whenever I see people on the street who don't have any place to live, I'm always so touched by that, because usually, like, if I'm talking to a comrade or whatever, and they say, Lisa, can you buy me a soda? I'm gonna look at them like, I ain't buying you none of that stuff. You don't need to be drinking it. Don't even ask me anything. That's ridiculous as that. I'm not giving you nothing for that. But if I'm talking to somebody who is without a home and they're on the street, and I know that they are faced with a whole different set of circumstances, and I know that their bodies, they're probably just craving anything at that point, I wouldn't tell them that. If they say, could you please buy me, you know, I'll ask them, well, what would you like me to get? And they'll tell, this is what I would like. And I know at that point, I wouldn't dare preach to them about, well, you shouldn't be eating that, because I wouldn't dare do that. You know, I would not dare do that. So in that case, I will do it. But these are just the things that we have to think about, because they are essential to our survival. Yeah. And like I said, if somebody's starving and they don't have a place to live and they need food or whatever like that, they're not going to want to hear about, oh, well, let's, you know, colonialism and capitalism. You got to be in that movement. You know, these are the things that they have to think about, that they have to deal with, you know. And these are the ways where we are building, you know, building around these issues. These are the things we have to think about. I know with the healthcare working time. But I just wanted to just bring up some things that we really need to be thinking about.
It's going to be Q&A where you can say more as well.
So the point that I want to make speak to homeschooling, and my position is holistic. You know, that this movement has to include everybody. It can't just be mom and dad on the front line with the children going. So I researched some studies, and 80% of the nation's teachers are white women, which puts our babies at a disadvantage immediately, because they always uphold the mission of the white man, which is racism in all forms. And even their teaching styles don't support the African mind. It contradicts them, it confuses children. This Common Core math where, you know, 2 + 2 = 4, but they'll tell you have to add 8, take away 5 just to get the answer. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And the children know it, and they get reprimanded because you want them to learn, you know, a way that doesn't even make sense. African children are at a disadvantage because white teachers lack the understanding of the challenges of Black students and are more likely to take disciplinary action that negatively affects the African child. So some of them, all the food they get is at school. You got, you know, this child is being reprimanded for something that could have been talked about. Now he's not getting a meal because he got suspended because you couldn't properly facilitate what really happened or mediate, but you expelled him or the child got expelled. National studies also show that Black teachers produce better academic behavior outcomes. Black teachers are less likely to suspend or take negative action towards Black students because they understand. So they are more willing to act, and also it creates a level of care when you see someone who looks like you know, there, you feel more confident. Black history starts with slavery, automatically puts our children at a disadvantage. So it's of benefit to homeschool your children, to teach them the things that they need to know so that they understand their position and they don't have to come, you know, here and be, you know, reprogrammed in terms of what we've been taught. They already come up in knowing and understanding the truth. A study at Johns Hopkins reported that low-income Black students who had at least one Black teacher in elementary school is significantly more likely to graduate college. So just that piece and just seeing that visual representation of themselves help them to achieve more in life. A Black-centered curriculum would instill pride early and totally support Black liberation. Black children benefit from seeing themselves represented in positions of leadership and learn from someone who isn't just visiting the culture. So, you know, you can relate, and it helps the children to become more confident. Also, being taught by a racist education system breeds more oppression. Children are depressed. Like, if I worked in the school for 9 years and I understood, and I see why they are, you know, going through the things that they're going through, but I think that it would benefit the movement to have children come up and understand this plight early. And understand that this is a part of them and that this is necessary, and this is also that they have to uphold. So, those are my points.
Let's give them a round of applause. So this time we're gonna have some discussion. We did, if it's possible, want to come up with some resolutions in terms of practical activity. I know, Sister Lisa, you have the healthcare working group, and that's something that we want to build here in Philadelphia. So I don't know if there's any recommended resolutions or plans of actions that we wanted to introduce in this discussion. But if there's any discussion in general that people want to have, now to do so.
I just want to say that and education is definitely important, especially at home. Like, I know some circumstances may have to put them in school, but still that education that you want to teach your children definitely should be happening at home. And the things that you think that are important or that you're following definitely needs to be preached. You know what I mean? You need to practice with what you're seeing at home, because it might be being suppressed at the normal school, but still there's education that needs to be processed every day.
Part of the resolution would be homeschooling co-ops. You know, that's something you can do, that if you have a day off, you know, maybe you teach a math one day on a day off, and you can actually take your children out of the system.
Right, yeah,
that'd
be,
Yeah, so a homeschool co-op would be the most ideal way, and it would alleviate, you know, someone being there 24/7. Everybody pitches into, you good at math, then you hold down math. If you good in English, you hold down English.
Trade school.
And not only that, the other thing that I found out too is that they don't challenge the children enough. So I had to homeschool my oldest son, and he was learning from sophomore college books in 8th grade. So when he was able to go back to school, he was fidgeting, and he doesn't have problems. You're not challenging them. Right. They're far more capable of being passed and surpassing grade levels easily. But that would be a benefit of homeschooling your children, is that you would have that.
I wouldn't talk to both. I want to address the education part, because I'm a retired teacher. You touched on such a great point, and I've experienced that whole genre. I guess you can say, you know, I've been given a good opportunity to work at Thurgood Marshall Elementary School, where, you know, there was a Black principal, and they did incorporate a lot of our African stuff in there, but we still had to do the Western civilization stuff too. And what you were saying about the white teachers is so prevalent.
Yes.
And it's not so much of them being racist, it's that they don't know.
We need a new curriculum.
And it makes a difference with the people of color, that because we understand the plight of our children. And I was there also because they will suspend you quick.
Absolutely.
But my thing is, even though I had so much going on at one point with these students, but I refused to have them suspended.
Yeah, but it's because
But I had to make records of it. And then after it get to a certain point, the one thing escalated very bad. We had to go at a special meeting down at the school district. And I still chose not to have this child arrested. I chose so that we get counseling. That I didn't go into the juvenile system, because you know where that was going to lay. And then they'll find out the parent was just like the child. So, you know, there is a lot. It's a lot that needs to be addressed here. And being black women of color and men of color that are in education is very important because our children do respond to it.
And it's interchangeable. Teach your children, or your children can come. So let's just say you hold something here, for children. They'll go home and say, "Mommy, I want to eat strawberries instead of Skittles."
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's another piece in the school system that puts our children at a disadvantage. The school lunch is horrible. It's not conducive for learning. It's not conducive for sustaining.
It has no
your
substance to it.
Nothing. No nutritional value. None. Even the fruit that they give you is seedless.
And I've seen soda machines in school.
Yeah, they got them now. They don't.
It's horrible.
Pizza.
They need to change the way the curriculum's debated too, because as you can tell, the curriculum is based off of the white people and what they want to learn and what they're trying to progress with.
Even
we would
in
need
high
a
school,
whole
history started with slavery. I'm like, is this it? But I'm thankful that my elementary school was centered around Yoruba practices.
Yes.
So when we went in school, we had to chant, and that was a blessing. But my children, as a matter of fact, I'm so passionate about this because my son told me he hates school, and I equated that with he hates learning. He said, "No, I like to learn. I hate school."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for him to be able to make that analysis, he was only in 4th grade.
Right.
He hates school.
Yeah. Because they're not.
I want the information. I don't want to go there.
It's not making sense. It's not adding up. And he was also the same child who, and it speaks to white women not understanding. He had a name tag, and his teacher called me and said that he vandalized school property. So I'm thinking he spray painted some graffiti. So I get there and he doodled on his name tag and made it. He loves art.
Yeah.
So I said, "You do know what vandalism is, right? This is his name tag, it's a sticker on the desk." So I said, "We need to go to the principal because obviously you don't understand what vandalism is." And she wanted to suspend him for that.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, she wanted him suspended because he doodled, drew on his name tag on a desk, and she said it was vandalism. And the principal had to explain to her that, no, that's not vandalism.
I know, I did that which you both have put out, the health disparities in the community that's forced upon us, and as well as the literacy or lack of literacy, or the lies that's being put, that's forced upon our community. And that's all a part of the colonizers' attempt to keep us,
School to
send us to prison.
pipeline. Yes, that's all they're breathing for.
When I was in high school,
Court.
I was in high school, Southern Grass area. Before I dropped out of it, a group of us let them walk out because to the Board of Education, because we protested the fact that we wanted black literature. I was reading Dick Gregory and Man Child, Promised Land, Claude Brown, and Soul on Ice, Elvis Cleveland, and on my own. And we're like, the stuff that they had us reading is like dumbing us down. So it's like you say, the child is being dumbed down. Children are not bad. Children can't learn. A lot of times they act up because they're bored.
They're not challenged.
And they're not challenged.
Yeah.
And they can see through adults. I mean, they can see through you. They know you just got. They know you don't really care. And so those are conditions that it starts early on, like you said, at home. And I know that my daughter had to take her out as she wasn't doing nothing in 12th grade, 11th grade. I took her out and I just had the school at home. I made sure she was going to get that paper, even though that was just, wasn't everything. It's not the answer, end all to everything, but I had to do my work. It was more work on me, but I knew she was smart. I knew she was smart. I just wanted her to get that paper so she can move further.
And I just wanted to just say something a moment again, just in terms of how everything relates back to health, because when you label a child like that, you call it vandalism. Instead of just saying, "Oh, he drew on doodle," which is a big deal, but you call it vandalism, and you take the harshest thing that you could do at that point to impact that child, and the effect that it has at some point in terms of our health, not just our physical health, but our emotional well-being as well. and the effect that it has on it, because it really does, and we'll come back to that. Are we at time now? Or?
No.
Okay, and
For the healthcare.
okay. I just also didn't want to just talk about some of the things healthcare working group is doing.
No, because it's a 360 thing. But it's when we did healthcare now, I'm experienced with that too. If you were saying about the medication they give you and they tell you about the side effects. Now they have to warn you about the side effects. And then you say something, well, then if this is when the side effect is this, then why are you giving it to you? Then it's like, well, then the answer I would get is that the benefit of taking this medicine from what you're dealing with right now outweighs the side effect.
No,
And that's not
it's
true,
not.
because I wouldn't tell you that I'm allergic to ag. No, I can't even take
It's
penicillin.
big money.
Yeah,
It's
so
big money.
I had to
Big
get
money.
back into,
Yeah.
so once they realized that I couldn't do all that, narcotics and all that stuff, I couldn't do it. They had to do the natural. And it worked so much better. But, and I found that they are, the doctors and stuff, you know, piggybacking on what you're saying, they are supposed to give you the natural way of the healing, of taking herbs and things. But there's a contract or something with the pharmaceutical
They get paid.
and the doctors.
Companies fund
So the
the
more
medical
strict-
schools.
Yeah,
And most of modern medicine are the doctors, because some of them might be good-hearted, but the
yeah.
conditioning, you know, the wiring and the conditioning is, and a lot of them are not good-hearted, let's be very clear
No,
about
they're
that.
not.
A lot of them are
It's
not, but
about
some of
the
them
money.
are, because racism permeates everything, we should never, ever take our minds off of that, we should never do that, call it for what it is. But anyway, the medical system, they are trained to the pharmaceutical companies, that's what their training is. They can invest as much study in nutrition, because when you think about it, somehow, regardless of what your religious beliefs are, there are certain universal truths, that somehow life appeared on this planet, and this planet sustained life long before man ever showed up, or humans ever showed up
Come
on it.
on then.
So that shows you right there about the power of this earth. And the first humans were not doctors.
No.
And somehow, with this earth sustained it, our life forms completely adapted to the environment on this earth. And yet they want us to act like there's no relationship. They want us to forget all of that. But I just want to just say a few things in
Hey,
terms of.
Sister Lisa, real quick. So we have officially, according to the agenda, about 3 or 4 minutes left in this workshop. There's supposed to be somebody else on the next panel. We haven't heard from them yet, and we do have to get into 5 minutes workshop. I want to ask real quick, and I'm assuming that we may have more time for you to say more about the healthcare working group activities, but this question is around the education piece. So, assuming that we had a place to do the homeschool co-op, how would we get that started? Is it? I want to also say, I don't necessarily, and Lisa as well, we don't necessarily have the ability to say specifically how we can move around this question, because neither one of us leads the education working group. I'm talking black is better. But I would imagine that to establish the homeschool co-op is something that we would want to do. And if so, if we have a place that can be used, what needs to happen? Is there any legal process that needs to happen? I know that we would want to do outreach in the community to get parents to, bring their children in it. But is there any kind of legal process that we have to go through?
There is, so state to state, you have to fill out documents to homeschool your children, you do. That just speaks to the systems that are in place, but it also gives you accountability too, to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, because you need to be accountable. Homeschool can get lazy, and it's like, okay, do this worksheet, I'm gonna do this. So it keeps everybody accountable. And then also, for the sake of graduation, you need to be able to show a portfolio of what homeschooling is. Now, they don't govern your curriculum, they just say that these benchmarks have to be met. They don't say how. yeah, that state to state, there are some documents that have to be filled out.
I would propose that we organize, first of all, is anybody interested in being a part of such a co-op? Sister Iris, Tyler, okay. So we have forces in Philly that's interested. We would have to also discuss it, with the steering committee, but assuming there's no opposition to that project, I would imagine that we would want to build some type of event where people in the community, parents, can come and learn about this project that we want to build. I would, in terms of resolution, I would propose that we establish like a subcommittee, again, assuming that the education working group is okay with it, a subcommittee that would take this project on. Is that something? I know you and B-more, but
I'll be committed to help them.
Yeah.
And do whatever is necessary.
Sister Iris,
That's my passion.
yeah. Do you know anybody else who might be interested?
Oh, yeah,
good.
Yeah, I'm involved. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking, I'm seriously considering going back to the school district. I'm retired, but I don't want to go to classroom. But they do have something called a grandparents program, where you can go after school and tutor your children out. So it's on this line.
Right.
So maybe I can kind of get the information from that and see how they're doing it and bring it back and
Excellent.
have a few people.
So we have Sister Iris, everybody's information. So I'm gonna send the communication to her name is Betty Davis. She chairs the education working group.
Okay.
And we can, talk about how we can move forward, now knowing that we have people who are down to work on this.
And I can tutor. I mean, English literacy is my strong point.
Okay.
But I teach it all.
So I'll send an email out today,
Okay, so I'm available.
Right on. Ooh.
I'm back home.
Go ahead, bro.
I'm gonna talk to my sister because she's excellent at math.
Nice.
My godchild, she goes to William B. Kelly, and her grades in math was poor, and so my sister, she's looking at this, and her mom is going off deep in because she wants her to get in tune with this white curriculum and everything. So my sister said the teacher don't know what he's doing. She went to the school and told the teacher, you don't know what you're doing. So she started taking my goddaughter to my sister. And next thing you know, by the end of the year, she's on the road at math. Because the teacher is like you were saying, couldn't, it's like this child learns different from this child.
Right, exactly.
And she has so many children in the class, and she's trying to teach them all one way. One child might get it and be an honor roll, and they, these children over here just ain't getting it. So my sister, she actually knows how to teach each child individually, their level of learning. So I'm gonna talk to her about it. It's no promise, but I'm gonna talk to her about it.
That's the benefit of co-op. Smallest class sizes, children can get more one-on-one.
Right on. Cool. So we'll follow up with no more than a week from now. We can say more about how we can move and perhaps do a conference call, or we can come back down or whatever. We can work out the specifics, but that's an important project.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Could I piggyback on when he said, my grandson, he's 20 now. He's military police and sergeant. But when he was playing at West Catholic, football got hurt. So he came out and he went to the science and mathematics school right there across the school district. But the bottom line is that the formula or something the professor had wrote on the board had a mistake in it. My grandson brought it to his attention. And he was not arrogant or nothing. He was very polite. And he brought the mistake to the professor's attention. And he got very upset. They kicked him out. But he went back to West Catholic. He's doing great now. He's in something. But I'm just going to say that, we teach them and we want to teach them to think on their own. And then when he was able to show the professor how he came to the answer and where his flaw was. You know, as a professor, he got upset, but I figured we learn every day.
That's right, that's right.
You know, so to piggyback on that, we all learn differently.
So maybe we can do a conference on Black Community Control of Education next time, right here. You know, but we're gonna talk about the plan of action moving forward. But as long as we have forces that are dedicated, I think it can happen. Sister Leesa.
I just want to say in terms of the healthcare working group, we had actually two very big initiatives right here in Philadelphia. I remember as soon as it was started, the case of baby Dylan happened. And this is when the hospital just took a baby from a mother who had sickle cell anemia. As soon as the baby was born, the hospital took the baby from his mother and put out an Amber Alert so the parents could not have anything to do with the baby. Well, they began to inject the baby with morphine immediately as soon as the baby was born. And the healthcare working group had just formulated, and they had reached out, I think, to Hjadiyya or something.
No, I led that up.
Okay.
Yeah, I led it up with the aunt.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I know we were every single day on
That's University of Pennsylvania.
Exactly. We were on the phone, having conferences every single day because every day that they kept this baby, it was a risk to the baby's life because they were injecting the baby with more, and they had no right to do
I
that.
think the next day, that Saturday, they released the baby.
Yeah, I think we worked about a good 2 weeks, but we were working hard on it. And so this is just some of the ways that the healthcare can do certain things. I know we have systems, and we don't know how long it might take, but this system to maybe possibly change it. We don't have to wait on that system to change. There are things we can do. And in terms of the healthcare working group, we want to really build that because some of the things that we have done, the baby Dylan was one case. We want to make sure that we have comrades in all areas that are with the healthcare working group because if one of our comrades becomes sick, we can have people that can be there on the spot that can help to advocate for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's always good to have people to visit, but it's always good if you have people who are comfortable with working and maneuvering through the hospitals and stuff like that to advocate for them. If people know about natural modalities, it would be great if they could volunteer some of their time, you know, to do that. But to really help to do the research, to help our people to really understand that there are other systems out there. And we've had a couple of cases, and I've seen this, but we just got together within the community and worked with people. Real quickly, somebody had a stroke, a strong comrade. I had a stroke right in front of my eye. I had no idea what a stroke looked like. We were at a pop meeting, People's Organization for Progress. And you guys, if you've been seeing this, brother Mini flew, and he's not moving, he's just sitting there, and he's not moving very well. And so I go up to him after the meeting, I'm like, brother Mini flew, and he's like, I was like, brother Mini flew. He couldn't talk, but there were certain things that I knew to immediately do that I usually always carry with me and everything, so I began working with him immediately. I made sure to go to the hospital with him because I knew he didn't have any relatives close by. His next of kin was in Las Vegas and he didn't have any children. So I understood that being that I'm not a family member, if I don't go into the hospital with them, they will have no obligation or whatever, or they won't even feel any need to talk to me if I want to find out information. But if I go into the hospital with him, even though I'm not a family member, even though I have no legal connection to him, I became somebody the hospital could not ignore because I came in there with him. And so they have my name, and that's what I wanted to do, because I wanted to be able to ask questions and then to at least be able to establish in the hospital, look, we've got people who are concerned. Somebody's going to be asking something, so you cannot do just what you want to do. And then I was able to reach out to his family, and I wasn't the only one, other people were doing it too, but I was doing it with a certain mindset. And I was able to make the connection with his brother, and I was able to say to his brother who was in Las Vegas, I was like, I can help you. This is close by. I can be your eyes and your ears. So if you can't get there, let me. You know, I would like to be able to be on your team and show you, so I can tell you what I'm seeing. And that's what we did. And We had other people, although they were not a member of the healthcare working group, but some other people who knew about certain kind of things, massage and things like that to do. And I got permission to be able to ask about medications. And I'll just give you one thing real quick, a quick example of this. They had, they said they saw internal bleeding going on with them. And I remember, because I was looking at the medications, I know that heparin causes internal bleeding. And I even said to the nurse before they said they saw any, I'm like, heparin causes internal bleeding. She goes, oh no, we're monitoring it. The next day I get a call from his brother saying they have to go back in and do a procedure because they see internal bleeding. And the first thing I said to his brother, heparin, they're giving him heparin. One of the side effects of heparin is internal bleeding. I said, I'll send you the information. I sent it to him. And the next thing you know, he contacts the doctor. And the doctor's like, oh no, we think heparin or whatever, but they say it causes internal bleeding. When I went to see him later on that evening, they had removed heparin. And this is the way that we did it, and that internal bleeding stopped. And then they put him out of the hospital. That's how they do. They just put people out, regardless of whether they have the proper things that they need or not. But because we had people working with them, we were able to do that. Just real quickly, again, another comrade was in a fire. And thank goodness she wasn't severely burned, but, again, she was somebody local to me. I was able to make the contact with the family member. I made a point of going to see her as much as I become part of my activism. So I might pull back from other activities when I'm doing that, but I will be there. And I made it a point of going there so they would see me and that they would know that I was going to be somebody that they were going to have to talk to, but not just talk to, but to ask certain questions. They end up putting her out of the rehab center because she had run out of money. She is somebody who couldn't see very well. Somebody who didn't need oxygen when she went in there, but when they put her out, she needed oxygen just to walk to her room. And she was in an apartment building. And again, she didn't have a lot of relatives, and she didn't have any children, and she's like maybe close to 60 or whatever, could hardly see, and on a feeding tube. And that's how they put her out. And they didn't provide any kind of real care. That was just like for a month, you could get something every 2 hours or whatever, but you're gonna have to do this on your own. I said, Ellen, do you mind if I come and stay with you for a few days? And I did, and there was 2 people in her apartment complex. I was so glad to be able to make the connection with them because one of them happened to be into natural foods as well. And the other one became somebody that I could contact if I needed to get into the building. So here's just a small example of community coming together. They had put her out. She was somebody who was in need of various things. By the time I stayed with her a couple of days, so that I could make certain kind of things, she was able to get off the oxygen. She was able to need the tube feeding so much, and yet she has people in her apartment complex that can look after her somewhat. Now, it's not ideal. I would like to be able to provide that kind of care all the time, but this is just an example of the things that we can do in terms of health. Resources are all coming down this street. In terms of looking at each other, making sure that we get out of these places and that we have what we need. So that's just a couple of examples. But if we are able to build the healthcare working group the way that we would like to, we can make sure that we have people wherever we are, people ready, people who understand about health, people are not afraid to advocate strongly that system and to help people maneuver through it the way they need to do that. And we could, be the eyes and the ears for people, and many times they can't be at the hospital. And another thing, all you have to do to join the healthcare working group is have an interest. You don't have to have an experience, just an interest.
Would it be ideal to open up grocery stores eventually, or take control over the grocery store? Because you see in our neighborhoods, they give us shit food with crazy modifications to it, where they putting different stuff in our foods and stuff like that, even cereals for our kids and stuff like that.
You are, and everything that you just said, I say yes to all of that. And that goes to show a need, and in fact, I will even bring this, to the steering committee, but certainly anybody who has an interest, because as we can see, agriculture is very, very important. Like me, I I can even grow weed. I can't even grow. I can grow nothing. So plants and all that has never been my strong suit. But the importance of people who can do that.
I went to Saul, so it's the agriculture. I'm just saying, I went to Saul, so I know different people like you get information about growing and stuff like that. Certain people don't know that.
I can see that I can see that could become a working group in and of itself. But yes, to what you're saying, whether it should be under the healthcare working group or not, but we surely need people who are definitely know a lot more about agriculture and agribusiness and exactly what you just said that needs to be challenged.
I want to say that Tommy Joshua and the Philly Peace Park, I was a part of that from the beginning. When we was over here, projects of 25th Street.
In Jefferson.
Yeah, in Jefferson. And then we took our land away, and then they gave us the other land off the 22nd. And so I just want to say it's open, it's free for us to go, just try to go down there at a time where you can actually say, well, this plot, right here, you can get down with this here. So you're allowed to go there and take any food that's there, anything that you can do to keep any bugs or any other cats or whatever elements out of it, go there when he's there, having you go to Philly Peace Park on Facebook, and then kind of like converse with him. He doesn't mind, he's like an ally.
And I know a lot more people are doing things with urban farming. I know that
that's what we do.
Oh, exactly, Brother Yard, some people with the African People's Socialist Party, what is that,
AFDA.
Right, they do a whole lot with urban farming and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know it because I moved from Mount Airy to Alney, and just the selection of foods that you could tell just within the neighborhood change. 10 minutes away, I can't get certain types of meat, or the meat that they give us is just scraps. Nothing, no substance to it. It's this thin. You know what I mean? You don't get no food, nothing with real good. And then the strawberries look like they 3 days old when they get to the market. They're nothing.
I know one of the things we're having the healthcare working group. We meet like about every 2 weeks or so, and I do know because I was in the supermarket and I was looking at certain kind of things, but I think what goes on in the supermarkets and the USDA, I think there is so much deception and corruption. It's horrible. If you try to get a half a gallon, make sure when you pick up anything that looks like a half a gallon, make sure that you look at the fluid ounces, because a half gallon is, I think, 64 fluid ounces. I've been noticing because I would pick up a half gallon of one thing and I picked up another. I'm like, this one looks small. It doesn't look like a half a gallon. And then I look at the fluid ounces. One is like 52 fluid ounces. Another one's like 59, but it looks like half a gallon.
Exactly.
And this is allowed to happen. So just as you were talking about that, I was going to bring this up on the healthcare working group call tomorrow that we have about some of the things that I've been seeing too very frequently going on in terms of these supermarkets and how they label things and stuff like that. So I was going to bring that to them tomorrow and try to, come up with some plan of action that we can begin to do. But you're more than welcome if you want to join the call. And then maybe, there probably should be a whole, group even devoted to issues of agriculture and farming.
We need to start farming and bringing our own produce.
So even if you want to take down that information too, since Philly Peace Park, because whenever you come, you get some real great stuff. I mean, I was eating directly from the plant. It was that good.
You should
that good.
You should have the representative come to the meeting.
Yeah.
And sit down here.
I'll try. Tommy be running around a lot because
it would be better working like that. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
How we operate,
including
it's just him and Brother Pee Wee kind of like really holding it down, so it's like it's hard, but but when they had anything, then I'll go, I'll talk.
Yeah, I understand, but the given community, we want to invite.
No, for sure.
We want to invite them there to say, hey, we got this is available, and we can unite.
There's been a struggle, and this is an important point in terms of the struggle to build the Black is Back coalition. Which isn't the property of any given organization. It's about uniting every organization in the Black liberation struggle under one banner of self-determination. So I unite with God that it would be appropriate to have the peace part come to this type of forum and to join Black is Back. And that's been a struggle with time.
I know,
It's been a struggle for years.
I know.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would make that
Well.
Tell me why you know. Tell me how
Yeah, well, only
you
on the food angle, but.
I know.
Yeah.
We gotta move to the next workshop.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate the information and the panel.
Yeah.
I appreciate this discussion.
But this one on the food part, I know that.
It's all political though, because food distribution
Well, I get what you're saying.
in and of itself is not gonna solve the problem,
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
It's about winning people to
Absolutely.
understand.
I get you.
So we're gonna close out with our final workshop. Invited, not here yet, and I don't know if they're gonna be here. I would really hope that they could make it, but we're gonna cut this one short. This workshop is around the question of, it's entitled The Ballot and the Bullet. It's essentially dealing with much of what's going to be discussed at the school, the electoral school that's going to be happening in St. Petersburg, Florida, April 6th and 7th. And I want to again encourage everybody to come. We're going to be taking a vehicle or perhaps 2 vehicles down to Florida, but anybody who wants to come is invited. I know myself, I'm going. I know Sister Hjadiyya had expressed interest in going, you know, Sister Leesa, and others, but if you can make it, come down to the school with us. And we're not going to just be talking about how to run for office, but we also going to be talking about how to wage struggle for public policy reform in terms of getting laws and policies that we write on the ballot, you know, because on paper, at least, according to the constitutional law, it is actually possible for laws that the people introduce to be voted on and actually passed as laws. For example, in Ferguson, in Missouri, in actually 4 states around the country, you can run what they call a referendum, which is a law that the people write, and if you get X amount of petitions signed, then that actually, the law automatically is placed on the ballot for election.
What was the number? It was something real small too.
Yeah,
It
Ferguson is like
yeah,
1,500.
1,500.
Yeah.
Think about how
It's based on the
possible it is to
population.
pass a law there.
Yeah.
How you want it?
That's to get it on the ballot.
Referendum.
You
But
said
still,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, here, yeah.
Yeah, well, there too.
Oh, I thought you said it was.
Yeah, it wouldn't automatically pass as law, but that gets it on the ballot. Which is
Automatically,
just as good,
yeah.
Right.
you know? So, but the point is that, so at the school that we're going to be doing in Florida, we're going to be, showing the people in attendance how to actually run public policy reform, ballot initiatives. And we have been involved in a lot of struggle on this question as Black is Back. Brother Yah spoke of, we went to city council 2 or 3 times with this policy right here. And I want to review it with y'all so you're familiar with what exactly we have been struggling for. But this is the law that we are struggling to get passed as actual law in Philadelphia Constitution. It's in the packet, so if everybody can pull it out, we're going to read it real quick, but it's important. So it states, Municipal Code of Philadelphia. Again, we wrote this law. Bill on Black Communities Controlling the Police Commission, introduced by the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. Article 1, Organization and Election. Definitions. The following terms, wherever used in this chapter, shall have the following meanings unless a different meaning appears from the context. 1, Black Community District. Unless any police district in the city of Philadelphia with the combined populations of Black and Latino people are at least 40%. 2, Black Community Control Police Commission. A non-government affiliated, democratically elected, independent board to supervise the operation of armed security and police in Black community districts. 3, Black Community Control Police Prosecution Commission. A non-government affiliated component of the Black Community Control Police Commission, which will yield prosecutorial power over police charged by community with offenses committed against the community. The Philadelphia police, court, and prison system will be legally bound to recognize. 4, Black Community Police Charter, the public policy and police protocol that all police forces are bound to respect that is developed through input of the community through public hearings like this one, organized by the BCCP Commission. And the establishment composition, the Black is Back Coalition recognizing the right of the Black community to establish a Black Community Control of Police Commission with full authority for police in the Black community. Whereas the Black community in Philadelphia has tired of the history of terror and brutality in the Philadelphia Police Department. Whereas the demand for Black community control of police is a just and democratic demand that addresses that history as well as the contemporary examples of police murder and misconduct that have captured the attention of the world since the August 9th, 2014 police murder of Mike Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and a resultant mass resistance of the people. Whereas this history of police terror and brutality has resulted in mass incarceration of Black people in the U.S., which, like the public execution of Black people by police, destroys the coherence and integrity of the Black community. Whereas the history of Black people in the U.S. has been one long and, up to this day, unending resistance to a tradition of popular and government oppression. Whereas continuous efforts are being made to obscure the social basis of police repression with diversionary calls for police review boards. And I just want to say real quick, when we went to City Council calling on them to adopt this resolution, Darrell Clark, who's the president of City Council, his response was that, oh, well, we have a police review board already. But the reality is that what they call a police review board has no power. All it does, if you're lucky, they'll listen to your complaint, but they don't have the right to hire nobody, fire nobody, tread, prosecute, nothing.
They don't even go through the paperwork.
Yeah, yeah. So
it's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah. And like the chair, like the resolution says, it's a diversionary tactic. What we had? Oh yeah, the diversionary calls for police review boards, police body cameras, community policing, and police community discussion sessions. Also want to say before I forget, so when we enter this work around education, which in and of itself is extremely important, but again, no game that we are able to win, whether it's around the food question, education, nothing means anything if we don't have concrete power to defend it.
Yeah.
We look at stuff like Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, a vibrant economic hub for the Black community that was militarily attacked. So, and this has been the reality for African people since we came in contact with European white power 500-600 years ago.
Okay.
So, through the struggle for Black community control of the police, we're talking about building, raising up the capacity for the African community to protect and defend itself and our resources. Of course, we're not just doing this in the U.S., but we are engaged in a similar process in Africa and other parts of the planet. And we want to win the people to support. Not everybody will fight, so to speak, but for mothers and the fathers of children who want to see a child get a decent education, if and when we hold a conference on Black community control of education, based on what we discussed in the previous workshop, we will also want for them to take this out to their community, to say, look, this is a law that we have developed, and we're going to add on to it so that it begins to speak to other issues regarding housing and economic development that will be contained within this resolution, so that broader and broader sectors of the community they see their own interests, their own stake in supporting this central in the state. So whereas the history of Black people in the U.S. has been one long, I'm sorry, we read that. So diversionary calls for police review boards, police body cameras, community policing, and police community discussion sessions. Whereas police review boards, body cameras, the U.S. Justice Department, grand juries, and the President of the United States have not in the U.S. Whereas Black community control of the police is a democratic and just demand that empowers the African community as opposed to giving more power to the oppressive police department. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Philadelphia, using all the power at its command, will facilitate the democratic process entirely. Can you pull up that state statute that talks about the 20,000? You know,
that, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Yes. Will facilitate the democratic process to establish a Black Community Control and Police Commission that will be elected by Black people within the City of Philadelphia and be authorized to assume full responsibility and authority for policing the Black community with the power to hire, fire, set standards, determine training, and establish the budget for carrying out its mission of Black Community Control and Police. Now, therefore, be it resolved. It's in our chat.
Yeah,
chat.
but there's no internet in here. I can't get
okay.
into it. I'm trying to get into it.
Yeah, because you want to use mine? Because it's real relevant.
Yeah.
So, chat. Yeah, one of those. Set stand. Okay, so now therefore be it resolved, there is hereby established an office of the people of the historically oppressed and exploited Black and English and Spanish speaking community to be known as the Black Community Control and Police Commission. And that's what this conference, as we continue to build these conferences, and they will grow in terms of numbers of people coming out, you know what I mean? And we want to start to really build the infrastructure to assume responsibility for self-government, because this BCCP commission, as it says in this resolution, will not only have those powers around hire, fire, trade, but also begin to assume responsibility around certain sectors of economic life for the Black community, including education, housing, healthcare, etc. So it's all connected. So the BCCP commission structure. The BCCP commission will be structured according to the following principles. 1, district and territory. The geographic framework within which, the geographic framework within which the Philadelphia Police Department defines its current districts. And we have that map we talked about earlier. 2, democracy. The Democratic majority of districts with the Black and Latino population compromises at least 40% of the population engaged in a community-based volunteering campaign to facilitate the defined objectives of the BCCP Commission. BCCP Commission will be organized on Black, neighborhood, district, and citywide level. On each level, BCCP Commission will make decisions according to the principles of democratic authority under centralized leadership and centralized leadership under democratic authority. BCCP Commission powers will include 1, power to hire, fire, train, and set training standards and subpoena police forces in the Black community. 2, power to determine how police budget allocated for a specific police district will be used in the spirit of initiative for economic development for Black community over police containment as a method of public safety. We said if you want to stop crime, quote unquote, then the solution is not to flood the community with these occupying troops, is to dedicate those same resources towards schools, housing, employment, things that really, the lack thereof create the basis for crime. Yeah. Like, the violence and all that, the drug economy, all these things that occur in our community as a consequence of the absence of economic development. Yeah. So we're saying that a major part of the BCCP Commission's task is to struggle for these forms of economic development. We talked about the housing law. As we begin to deal with the education question, we want to start really, getting into how they can look and function as our